West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after News and Comment with Blake Olson, I want to talk about this. Donald Trump, not only is he taking over Washington, D.C., federalizing the city, police force, FBI agents, all that stuff, it's combined with a executive order that came a few weeks ago that kind of didn't make a ton of news, but it's critically important to what he wants to do in Washington, D.C., which is what do you do with mentally ill homeless? And how did we get to a place where the care they receive is what's called community care? Essentially, we're just going to kick you out on the street. Dude, I did a deep dive on this. This is something that's passionate to me. I wanted to figure out how we got here. We went from insane asylums to essentially people in the insane walking around on the streets, and the human suffering that's taking place out there is wild. Well, Donald Trump, executive order, wants to address this. Will it work? How will it change things? Are we heading back towards insane asylums? Yes, in part, but it's not going to look exactly like it did in the 60s and 70s. I'll share with you more about this, but now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Tuesday morning, 65, sunny outside, expecting a high of 88 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, fire crews on the western slope are optimistic they can get containment up in the Lee and Elk fires. Officials say lines are holding as of now for the Lee fire, which has become the fifth largest in state history.
Fire's still on the west side of 13, so folks are staying vigilant in there, looking at the structure areas and bringing fire that was 2 days ago coming down and just making sure 13's holding good.
The Lee fire has burned over 116,000 acres, but the fire incident commander, Jeremy Dietz, says firefighters are working hard to keep the flames from jumping State Highway 13. The Lee fire is 6% contained. The Elk fire has burned more than 14,000 acres and is 30% contained.
Listen, this whistleblower literally sat in a meeting, he says, he tells the FBI, where Adam Schiff authorized the leaking of classified secrets to
the dirty deep state led by Barry, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Clinton, and Shifty Schiff hopefully will be indicted. A Democrat has blown the whistle on Shifty, John Solomon, on Fox News last night.
Dirty up Donald Trump and to try to build towards either a select committee in Congress or a special prosecutor. This whistleblower was a career intelligence officer. He had worked for the House Intelligence Committee, Democrat staff for a dozen years when he came forward to the FBI. He gave 4 interviews. He gave very specific information to the FBI, and nothing happened. Why? Because the Justice Department simply decided to take a pass. How many times have we sat around in the last decade and heard, we're going to get to the bottom of that classified leak, and then a few months later, we couldn't get to the bottom of that classified leak. In the case of Adam Schiff, they got to the bottom of some classified leaks, but the Justice Department chose not to act. So tonight, Attorney General past attorney generals, people like Merrick Garland and Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein, who was acting on Russiagate. They've got some serious questions answered. Did they know about this Adam Schiff stuff? Why did they allow it to be passed on? And will anything happen in the current Justice Department?
Let's go. Let's get it done. Some D.C. leaders blasting DJT's decision to take control of the city's police and deploy National Guard troops. But Joe Scarborough actually telling the truth this morning, reads a text from someone that he knows who's way, way far left.
He says, this may sound controversial, but I'm not totally opposed to Trump's National Guard move in D.C. I know he's doing it for politics, but crime remains rampant. I've had too many friends carjacked, shot at. None of us will walk more than 3 blocks after 8 p.m. 13-year-olds are committing many of these crimes. Quite a change from a decade ago when things were much calmer. Well, that actually sounds like the D.C. that I lived in when I lived a block behind the Supreme Court. And, you know, every 3 days, one of my neighbors was getting held up at gunpoint. I mean, there has been a crime problem in D.C. At the same time, obviously, a lot of concerns. Will this look like June of 2020?
Stay tuned. The Texas Department of Public Safety is on the lookout for those runaway Democrats who skip town in order to stall controversial GOP redistricting efforts they say will impact voters of color. Couldn't be further from the truth. House Speaker Dustin Burrows said that the state troopers are conducting stakeouts at the homes of absent Democrat House members in an attempt to round them up and return them to the Capitol in Texas. All right, I'm going to read this. This is just so ridiculous. McDonald's adult Happy Meals are back and on the menu starting today. The McDonald Land meal comes with the choice of a quarter pounder and cheese, 10-piece chicken McNuggets, fries, and a limited edition shake. Customers will get one of 6 collectible tins featuring a McDonald Land character like Ronald McDonald Grimace and the Hamburglar that have postcard stickers and more inside with the meal. The adult Happy Meals. That's what happens when you legalize pot in states.
No, this is awesome. They're bringing back the old McDonald Land characters from the 1970s because they want the adults to come back and look at the idea of revisiting their childhood. So they're bringing back the old characters. Hey, when's the last time we saw Ronald McDonald featured in a McDonald's commercial? It's been quite a while. Ronald is back along with Grimace, Mayor McCheese, Hamburglar, and they call them the Fry Kids, but they're originally the Fry Guys. They debuted in, 1971. Hey, I know my McDonald's stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
you do.
you do.
I'm just
Yeah, you
surprised
do.
in the midst of all the problems we're facing as a country, instead of getting serious, we're like reverting back to childhood McDonald's characters.
Well, I mean, don't you want
I'm
Mayor
in
McCheese
debt.
to come
You're
in?
in debt. We're all in debt. What do you want to do? Well, let's go to McDonald's because the new Hamburglar characters.
why
there.
not?
Get healthy.
Maybe the Hamburglar will help us, steal more tariffs, or maybe the idea of Mayor McCheese putting the smack down on all the homelessness. There could be some law and order here. There could be some ideas that, showing the kids you can't embrace a life of crime. And look what happened to the Hamburglar. There are all sorts of things here. You guys are you guys are against lessons. This is not and nostalgia. What's wrong with your dark little hearts?
I think what they should have done is just done it with the kids meal and throw those in there so the adults can enjoy it. Still make it for
Adult
kids.
Happy Meal.
What is
Awesome
wrong?
idea. It's
awesome.
My God. It's fantastic.
So embarrassing.
No,
When does
it's
this come out? Maybe
So
maybe this could
cringe.
become
Out
a
now.
bit. We'll go down and get one and eat it here.
It's out.
Send
It came
Corliss
out
to go get
this
us
week.
some.
Yeah, it came out this week. It was debuted 2 weeks ago.
Cheeseburgers.
Okay, here
So
we
it's
go.
there, like the McDonald's
Send
just
John
down the
to
street. The
order
McDonald's down the
adult
street.
Happy
I can
Meal.
go get an adult Happy
It
Meal
should.
today.
Well, not right now, but yeah, after 10:30. Yeah, they don't serve them until 10:30. Again, I know when the McDonald's Happy Meals start to be served. I am that
Yes,
good of a
you
dad.
do.
Yeah, none of the rest of
God,
y'all
that-
dads knew exactly where that is. Who's the best dad here? I'm the dad that knows when they
man.
start serving the toys. Yeah, I'm on top of my
Come on,
dadness.
you have to admit. Won't you be embarrassed when you walk up there or you drive up there and I'll have an
No.
adult Happy Meal?
Have you met me? No.
Good point.
No.
Great
I will wear
point.
toys. I will buy toys now. I'm the guy that I go to Target, and it is not unusual for myself and my children to start lightsaber fighting. In the aisle. I have no shame. I got no problem with this one. Yeah. I got no deal with this one. Yeah.
Oh, man. I
absolutely.
knew you would have some great stuff
Here's
on
the thing.
that one.
Okay, now here's the thing. Here's a really cool thing about this, okay? Mark Crowley and I were talking about this yesterday. So these original McDonaldland characters debuted back in 1971. It's Ronald McDonald, Grimace, Hamburglar, Mayor McCheese. Again, what the hell is Grimace anyway? But that's it. And the Fry
what
Guys.
is Grimace?
Now, who designed those characters? Anybody that is into 70s, 80s nostalgia knows the names. Who designed the original McDonaldland characters?
Walt Disney.
No, but close.
Jim Henson?
No, but did have a popular TV show. In fact, two of them.
So a cartoon, an artist.
What if I say this? Now this will be something that Jeff won't get the reference, but Blake will. Blake, what if I tell you that the people, the couple, it's two dudes that designed the original McDonaldland characters, also created Sigmund the Sea Monster and the Banana Splits? Do you know who it is now?
I do not know.
It's Sid and Marty Krofft.
Oh, yeah.
Sid
I
and Marty
remember
Krofft
now.
did the TV show, which, if you want to talk about drug use in the 70s, go check out Sigmund the Sea Monster. That's
exactly.
weird. Yeah, that's a
Yes, it
bizarre
is
one,
weird.
dude. A little kid in a magic flute and then a talking seaweed. It's bizarre. Okay.
No wonder
now,
my parents wouldn't let me watch it.
Exactly. They're like, we're encouraging you to do drugs. We let you watch this thing.
What the hell is
Then
this?
you have Banana Splits, which probably has one of the best theme songs ever for a childhood TV show. Just absolutely wonderful. But yeah, Sid and Marty Krofft were under contract to create characters for McDonald's in the 70s. And they created the original characters, which includes Grimace, Hamburglar, the incarnation of Ronald McDonald that we all know, Mayor McCheese, and the Fry Guys. So
Interesting.
it's Sid and Marty Krofft that are responsible for those classic characters.
That explains those weird commercials they had.
Exactly. See, it all
Saturday
makes sense
morning.
once you see
it all comes together.
Yeah, then it all makes sense.
So you get a food container. Here's People magazine talking all about this. Welcome to McDonaldland. Packaging pays tribute to all the classic characters customers will recognize, such as Ronald McDonald, Grimace, Birdie, Hamburglar, and the Fry Friends. Mayor McCheese, a top hat wearing political leader and cheeseburger enthusiast, last seen in 1983, also returned to join the fun. The food containers are all decorated with whimsical illustrations, and the bag even features a crossword puzzle with McDonaldland trivia. Each meal comes with a colorful box depicting a map of McDonaldland, which contains a tin of collectible themed for one of 6 characters. We were given the Mayor McCheese tin, they write. Some of the items in the tin included a postcard bearing an image of Town Hall, which is fittingly located in a building resembling a cheeseburger, a sticker that reads, McCheese is my mayor, and a passport included to the mayor that lists his hobbies as playing cello and tailoring. I will give
Love that.
Look, I'll give you this, Bill.
Yeah.
The current designs of McDonald's buildings are god awful.
Oh, it's horrible.
They're
They're like prisons.
They do look like prisons.
Okay, wait, you got to check this out.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
They look like mental
You don't
like 'em?
Okay, you got to
institutions.
check this out. Not too far from the playground here at 710 KNUS, just down the road a little bit on Parker, at that Parker and 225 intersection there, on the corner, there's what looks like a very large cannabis shop. That cannabis shop used to be a McDonald's with a play place.
Sure did.
So that thing out
I
front
remember
there
that one.
is a play place. And I've never walked in, but I've always wondered, I'm kind of hoping they stuck with the play place theme. Maybe there's an adult play place in there, all marijuana theme, but okay, I digress.
You think they kept the slide in there?
I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know what the potheads do, but how fun would that be to go buy the pot and then, and you got to leave through the slide.
So CBS, we're so off on tangents, it's funny. CBS News, CBS Sunday Morning News did a whole thing on Cheech and Chong.
Yes.
And I was watching that going, all right, I understand the mental problems with Cheech and Chong, or with marijuana and all the consequences of it. But I'm sitting there, these guys are in their 80s.
Yeah.
80s. And they smoke giant marijuana joints. I'm sitting there going, well, it's
you just never know.
It's all genetics. It's like those people that drink Dr. Peppers all day, or Donald Trump who eats McDonald's for every meal and is in his 70s, the president of the United States.
That's true. It's genetics.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Okay, so we're taking a poll here. How many of us are going to get the adult Happy Meal?
I'm a little intrigued right now, Bill. I think after the show, I may go get the adult Happy Meal.
Of course.
I kind of feel like I've been talked into it.
Of course. I'm trying to convince the rest of my family. I'm a little wired differently. We're taking a trip later on this year, and I'm trying to convince the family that when we do this, and it will involve air travel, that we need to get themed hoodies. So that not that we all look the same, but it's a theme. Like I started with Power Rangers, and that was roundly rejected. So I went to Voltron. That also did not go over well in the meeting. So right now I'm working on Pokemon. That we could all get a different hoodie. Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
I love how on one hand you like your anonymity, and then you're like, hey, everybody, let's dress as Pokemon and travel through the airport.
I like my anonymity, but I have no problem making a spectacle in public. That's the thing.
Obviously.
I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that one.
The adult Happy Meal, someone texted in 8422, the adult Happy Meal is stupid, but it's fun at the same time. Us old fogies need to lighten up.
Yeah, I probably need to lighten up.
So I worked at McDonald's when I was 15 years old, and I'll tell you this, I love.
There is nothing so clean.
Sorry, that's a McDonald's commercial.
Oh, is it? I said I loved that the same people came in at like 7 a.m. every single day, and they would get their cup of coffee and sit down and do their crossword puzzles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts of work.
Hey, one of the best parts of one of the McDonald's that I know. Yeah. Okay, in a neighborhood I used to live in, the owner of the Chick-fil-A down the road is there every lunch.
Oh my God, that's great.
Doing his work. It's
that's
like
great.
his office.
Oh my God, that he works at McDonald's.
Yeah,
he
has been in there for decades. I think I've seen him for over 10 years in there at lunchtime doing his paperwork and doing all the business. No, I think I'm the only one who knows that, but I think it's great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The owner of the Chick-fil-A.
At
McDonald's.
That's fantastic. Okay, how many of us here on the show played at that McDonald's play place? The OG. We're talking about not the stuff inside. Back when it baked out in the sun and everything was like a bazillion degrees middle of the sun. We all do that.
And the Hamburglar had like the jail.
Yes.
That
no, it
you
was
would
Mayor
go
McCheese.
in.
It was Mayor McCheese.
Was that Mayor McCheese?
Yeah,
like you would go up into his space and it was like a jail.
Trust the nerd on the show here. It's Mayor McCheese. I got to pull my nerd card out on this one. I guarantee you, it's Mayor McCheese. It was a big burger. And then you'd sit on the Fry Guys and you try to wiggle back and forth. It never worked right. I know.
The slide at the Boulder McDonald's in the 70s would burn your legs and your butt if you got on it in July. And all the equipment, the playground there is like one of the first playgrounds, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible.
It was so hot. Yeah, those metal slides you have. And so what you did is you had to figure out because again, it's the 80s. So we don't have those Bermuda shorts. It's all short shorts. We're like, rocking the short ones. Yeah, we're rocking Daisy Dukes.
I'm talking 70s.
Oh, dude, my man. I get you. Yeah. And so what you got is you got the runner shorts back then. So what you got to do is you had to lean back a little bit so that the upper part of your thighs didn't touch, the boiling metal.
That's right.
Because otherwise you could get a burn going down those things. So you'd have to rock backwards just enough in order to slide, but you couldn't go too far back. Otherwise you'd hit your back and then your back gets burnt. Again, you and I, Blake, we were mastering physics, not knowing it, just to avoid injury to go down a slide. Now, that's something kids need.
Boy, you got that right.
Yes.
All right, this has been the greatest advertisement ever for McDonald's. All right, 62 in Lakewood, 64 in Aurora, 65 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
For to shine on the floor when we finish one dance.
You deserve a break today at McDonald's. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Another pleasant August day for Denver in the Front Range. Sunny skies, mid to upper 80s. Fair tonight, low to mid 60s. It's going to get hot again. Getting into the mid to upper 90s Wednesday with an isolated gusty thunderstorm late. Then highs low to mid 90s Thursday through Sunday with afternoon and evening thunderstorms returning during that period. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
To the Jeff and Bill Show, where we go from discussion of marijuana to McDonald's, Happy Meals, and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Yes.
And we did not smoke marijuana.
No, not today.
Stop with the show.
Yes.
I do want to talk to our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. Summer is a time to feel and look your best, but I'm not talking about your abs or tan. Guys, I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot. Reverse your receding hairline. Add volume to thinning hair during Advanced Hair's once-yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and they guarantee your new hair will grow. There's absolutely no one I trust more than Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar. Advanced Hair Summer Sales Event is on for a limited time, so get the details and schedule your free consultation today. Here's their phone number, 720-459-HAIR. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. With Advanced Hair, your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and take advantage of their best offer ever. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. All right, great piece out in the Free Press. What are we going to do about homelessness? Well, Donald Trump wants to take control, is taking control of Washington, D.C., federalizing the police force. He has the constitutional power to do this so long as Congress continues to kind of approve a lot of the work that he's doing. So one of the big issues is, what do you do with the homelessness and the homeless, the people that are living out there in tents? And how did we as a society get to a place where there's so many? Like at one point, Civic Center Park was infested with rats because it had so many homeless living in tents. And if you remember, Mayor Mike Kaufman went and lived as a homeless guy. One of the wildest things any political leader has ever done. I give him so much props for doing that, because he went to go see. I mean, it's not exactly the safest thing to do. And this was all during COVID, puts on a mask, goes and lives as a homeless guy, comes out of that whole thing, lives both in a tent in a homeless encampment, and then goes and lives in the shelters as well. And so he got to experience all of it. And he goes, in his response, it was drug addiction, mental health, and it's so overlapping that it's hard to distinguish who has serious mental health problems, who has drug addiction problems. But regardless, you got a lot of people that are suffering out there. And Denver continues to add to its homeless population. I want to remind people that the now senator, once governor, and at one point Mayor John Hickenlooper said he was going to end homelessness in 10 years.
Yeah, the road home.
It's now actually worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And even in light of Mike Johnston providing all this housing for people, we've actually increased the number of homeless. So if you have this mental health issue, you have growing homeless numbers, homeless going up. We had an expert on homelessness last week talk about all this. How did we get here? Great piece, the Free Press, titled, "I'm a Psychiatrist and I Support Trump's Plan for Helping the Mentally Ill. What should be done about the homeless," they write, "and severely mentally ill people on our street? The Department of Housing and Urban Development found that almost 1 in 5 homeless individuals suffers from a psychotic condition." I think that's a low number. I don't think it's 1 in 5. I think it's more like 4 in 5. Such a disorder. They are often quite literally dying in plain sight. Dude, that line is so true. We have given them a lot of liberty, like they have ultimate liberty. And we are watching people in our communities dying in plain sight. They continue. That question became more urgent on Monday, yesterday, when President Donald Trump announced that he's putting the Washington, D.C. police under federal control and deploying the National Guard, which will be tasked with cleaning homeless encampments. We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on, Trump said. They'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland for the world to see. Last month, Trump signed a new executive order. So this goes back to an executive order a few weeks ago. Didn't make a lot of news, but it's really important. That seeks to change the status quo for homeless and severely mentally ill people in a more radical way. The White House wants to make it easier to impose psychiatric care on homeless people who suffer from severe mental illness. The July 24th order, titled Ending Crime and Disorder on American Streets, says that shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil containment will restore public order. The order also includes housing, treatment, and public health policies regarding people addicted to drugs. If the order is implemented, which will require cooperation from the courts, states, and local governments and others, it could spark an unprecedented mobilization of resources to bring desperately needed help to millions of the most vulnerable Americans. Now, understandably, coerced care sparks deep emotion and controversy. Coerced care is a nice synonym, as governments often do, for we're going to take you and lock you away into psychiatric help. Is that good? Is that a just thing to do? And look, they admit there's a shameful legacy of patient abuse and neglect that still resonates in the public imagination. Curtailing anyone's freedom demands a high threshold. And there is. There's essentially 3 different levels of thresholds that need to be met in order to put somebody away in coerced care. But that legacy, they write, cannot prevent us from doing what is necessary to help vulnerable people today. So how did we get to where we are with the homeless? Well, it's a series of essentially Supreme Court rulings and lawsuits, as well as public policy, that got us to where we are with essentially psychotic people roaming the streets. And as this author writes, their right to liberty is fully intact. We as a society erred on that side. We said, well, you know what's most important? Liberty. And so their liberty we're going to guarantee. Meanwhile, they're literally dying out in public. So what does President Trump's plan to do about this? Well, his order directs the Attorney General, in consultation with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, to seek, in appropriate cases, the reversal of federal or state judicial precedents and the termination of consent decrees that impede the United States policy of encouraging civil commitment. The precedents they're going to seek to address have to do with a Supreme Court ruling called Olmstead v. LC and subsequent decisions. In Olmstead, the Supreme Court ruled that people with mental disabilities have a right under the Americans with Disabilities Act to receive state-funded support and services in community rather than institutions. If the state's treatment professionals determine that community treatment is appropriate and if such treatment can be provided with available resources. The Olmstead decision, they write, undoubtedly improved many lives of people with psychiatric conditions who can function well enough with the help of outpatient services. But subsequent litigation brought by overzealous disability advocates and sometimes the Justice Department's own Civil Rights Division has forced states to prioritize moving profoundly disabled patients into what they call community care. Too often, that has come at the expense of the far more dire need to increase hospital capacity, because the focus was on keeping as many people as possible in communities, even though their mental health care systems cannot adequately care for them. So what does this all mean? Basically, lawsuits and policy said We think it's better to respect people's liberty than to institutionalize them. Therefore, if you have severe mental illness, that community care that they're all talking about meant you just were put out on the street. That's where we are right now. We don't have enough beds. We haven't prioritized creating beds. We have, as a nation, said we're going to put you out on the street. To that point, what are we doing with regards to beds for psychiatric people? There's a great book linked in this article. Big, long book, hundreds of pages. But listen to this. In 1955, the United States had 340 public psychiatric beds per 100,000 people. You want to know what that number is today, Bill?
Yeah.
So
what?
340
Yeah.
to 100,000. We're at 14.
14
per 100,000.
Jeez.
We just don't have the beds. And we've created a legal system that basically says, if you institutionalize somebody and there's abuse, we're going to sue the crud out of you, which rightfully so. If there's abuse, someone should be held account. So counties, cities, states are going, man, we're going to do community care. Essentially die out in public. We also aren't giving people the types of medications that they need compared to what other countries do with regards to psychiatric problems. We don't provide as much medication as other countries do. So you don't have enough beds, you don't have enough medication, and so they're just dying in the street. So Trump wants to address that. So my question to you, my question to our listeners, is this the right way to go? Do we need to build more psychiatric beds? Do we need to institutionalize more homeless people with psychiatric problems? And is that good for our society? Is that a just thing to do for America? Your thoughts, sir?
Ooh, I will actually take your question and I'll expand it, or at least bring it to a different level. The question that I have is, are the motivations behind this about getting those people that are homeless and have mental issues on the streets? Is this about getting them help, or is this just about not seeing them? That's what I want to know, because when I listen to our president, it's not necessarily, from what I'm hearing in his words, it's not necessarily about these people are in crisis and we as a society need to find a way to help them. It's, I don't want to see them in my parks. Do you see how beautiful our parks used to be? And now these people make it dirty and ugly. I shouldn't see these people. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that the premise that President Trump is operating off of is that I don't want to see them, that this isn't really about getting them care, that inside the article, and I appreciate that line, dying in plain sight, I'm worried that the motivation for Donald Trump is we just want them to die in the institution. The care and services they receive inside that institution seem irrelevant, because that's nothing that he talks about. He talks about getting them out of my sight. That's what I'm worried about, that this is going to become a sweep of you are the vagrant, you are the unworthy, you're the person that individuals in this community shouldn't see on their way to the McDonald's or the grocery store or the school. So you must be removed from our society, not solving the problem you have that got you there, but just we need to put you in a box over there so we can't see you.
Well, in some capacities, you're never going to solve the problem. If someone has severe mental disabilities, you can medicate it, but you're not going to necessarily solve it. And there's going to be a level, there's going to be a spectrum of care. We're not going to build Ritz-Carltons and take the mentally ill to go spend time in the Ritz-Carltons. Now, should they just be locked in a room and fed food and never receive any type of care? No, they shouldn't do that either. So I think you have to have some form of expectations. If Donald Trump's motivation is I don't want to see them, at least they're getting some level of care better than what they're getting now under community care, which is just die in the street drug addicted.
Well, I understand the idea that it's somewhat better, but as you outlined in the article, the number of lawsuits and substandard care that existed originally. And that's why a lot of these institutions were closed down, because
of
a couple
abuse.
of things. Yeah, because of abuse. And in part also, we talk about the idea, and we talked about it the last couple of hours, the profit motive behind it. That once we put a profit motive, I got to find more people that I call crazy in order to get into my buildings, in order to keep my numbers up, in order to expand. I got to be in a growth industry. So just like we have these issues with marijuana and looking at making it commercialization, are we commercializing mental illness in terms of the housing of them? We've already commercialized it based on psychology, but are we commercializing the storage and housing of those that are mentally ill? And then does it become a profit motive? Do we constantly have to find more crazy people in order to lock up? Where do we go with that one? That's the thing. And I worry that when I hear Donald Trump, and I could be wrong, what worried me was I didn't hear a lot about the support system, getting them care, and the mental health help. It was more about, do you see how they make our cities look bad? Do you see how disgusting our parks look? I can't stand to look at these people. Why should I have to? For me, he reminded me of someone out of a Charles Dickens novel. He reminded me of someone that I would read in Great Gatsby. But Bill, I shouldn't be able to see this unwashed humanity on my way to my $1 million condo.
But look at the human suffering that's taking place there. Isn't it better? I mean, even if his motivation is, I don't want to see him. Think about all the ancillary, secondary issues around that. For instance, the amount of homelessness and the drug use that's taking place in the city of Denver. People aren't visiting Denver as a result of it. So businesses are suffering. Restaurants are suffering. So, yeah, does he have a plan to provide amazing care at the level of a Ritz-Carlton spa experience for those that are suffering? No, of course not. But isn't anything better? And just because abuse might take place doesn't mean abuse will take place. And I want to point out in this book about how to address homelessness, how to fix the mental illness treatment that's referenced in this article. They point out that in England, for instance, they create commissions that are appointed to go in and monitor these psychiatric hospitals, okay? The commission is made up of 3 physicians, 3 lawyers, and up to 5 lay people whose full-time jobs was to carry out unannounced inspections of all public and private asylums. If the asylum did not meet certain standards, inspectors could recommend that the asylum be fined or even closed. So you can build systems to track these and check on them. But our current state, where we are right now on August 12th, 2025, is that if you are homeless with a psychiatric condition, you are left and abandoned to rot out in the street. And if the motivation is, I don't want to see it, it's harming businesses, we need to move it, isn't that at least better than what we currently have now? And we can build in structures to provide analysis and inspections to ensure that abuse isn't taking place. Wow, phone calls are coming in. They're hot on this, which I appreciate.
Good calls.
Let's get to a break, then we'll get to those. Gina, Paige, join the conversation. You guys will be next. We do have an open line, 303-696-1971. Is it time to bring back the insane asylums? Sorry, the insane asylums. Is it time to bring back insane asylums? Is that more compassionate than rotting in the street? Or is that rife for abuse, suffering? We abandoned them. We shouldn't go back. 303-696-1971.
Yeah,
Bill?
is this about care? Is this more about, I just don't want to see that unwashed swath of humanity? What's the motivation here? I'm curious. Give us a call.
Text message 720-819-5115. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
insane asylums to address the homeless that are dealing with mental health issues. Is it time to move past what we've been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 years, where those that are struggling with mental health issues get, quote, community care, which is we let you just die out publicly in the street. You live drug addicted in a tent. We don't really provide much care at all to you. Is that better than what we did in the 40s, 50s, 60s with insane asylums? Text message coming in. Look, abuse is going to take place. It's absolutely naive to think that it won't in these insane asylums. But to the text messenger's point, I've seen statistics that say that roughly 65% or more of women living on the streets are raped on an annual basis. Like, I think we look at the insane asylums and go, oh, yeah, there's abuse. That's terrible. We should shut them down. Holy cow, nobody's paying attention to what's happening on the streets. I can't imagine being a homeless woman and having to deal with those creeps. I mean, and the amount of abuse and assaults that are taking place. Horrific. So I think it's taking place at a much higher level on the streets than it ever would in an insane asylum. At least you have some level of check that's taking place. Let's go to the phone lines. Gina, Aurora. Good morning, Gina. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. I have, this is like one of my passions. So I have a son who has schizophrenia. And, back in the day, you could just take him to a facility and get him help. Now you have to use the legal system, and which then could leave him with a record. So I feel like this was probably one of the biggest mistakes of the Reagan era. One of the biggest mistakes Reagan did was to deinstitutionalize these mental hospitals. I understand. I've seen those horrific films about what was going on during, in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s to these people, but there is no safety net. Like, the pendulum was one way to where it was like institutionalized people that probably didn't even deserve to be institutionalized, and now it's swung completely the opposite direction, and there is nothing for these people. The care is left to the individual, like, oh, I don't want to get treatment. They don't have to get treatment unless you get a court order, which is utterly impossible to get. Just the other day, I saw this young woman on Colfax and Sable just sitting there in her own filth. I'm sorry, I just get really emotional about this, but she's not safe, and people may not be safe around her. What is wrong with humanity?
Gina, I'm with you. It breaks my heart. This is why I care so much about it. It's because you're watching people, and this article hits it perfectly from my perspective with that opening line. They are often quite literally dying in plain sight.
Yeah.
And we've chosen this perspective, and I just go, there's got to be a better way. Now, what this article points out, and I think it's a fair critique, Republicans are cutting Medicaid. We're making cuts in the big, beautiful bill. And yet at the same time, we want to build new hospitals to institutionalize people. So I think that's a fair critique. If we want to do this, you're going to have to put some money into it. But we're dealing with economic loss as a result of homeless encampments. We're going to have to spend money to address this. And I think conservatives have to come to terms with that.
Yeah. It's really sad. And that's where you get the deemed incompetent. Like, if they're deemed incompetent, they can be let go. And granted, I mean, my son benefited from that law because he was deemed incompetent and was let go. But 2 weeks after he was released, he had a meltdown again and actually was placed in a facility for a few weeks. And now he's on this shot, which has been a lifesaver. But when you've got people being deemed incompetent that are actually, sexual assaulting children or, murder or, what he did was fairly minor. I have mixed emotions about that whole thing. I guess, it's like severity of the crime. But, I've been fighting
Gina,
the system for
from what I'm reading is that there's essentially 3 different standards by which somebody can be put into a psychiatric care. One is what's called imminent danger. So you have a gun to your head, that type of thing. You're suicidal. The state can step in and say, we're taking control of you. Because, look, we value liberty in this country, and rightfully so. So you have to hit certain thresholds in order for the state to come in. One is imminent danger. You're clearly about to harm yourself or others. The state can step in. Another one is called a grave disability. And grave disability is, a standard that recognizes that danger to self may take the form of extreme self-neglect. And that is essentially like you're so out of touch with your own care that you're basically stumbling around. Like you mentioned, the woman that's sitting in her own filth. You have a grave disability that doesn't even allow you to provide care for yourself. And then the third is psychiatric deterioration. So you may not be harming yourself right now, but you're suffering from hallucinations, delusions that are getting worse and worse and worse. And you're unable to recognize your own dire need for treatment. So those become, you're not necessarily threatening violence, but those become the 3 categories by which the state can step in and say, we need to essentially put you under our control. What do you think of those as somebody who's dealt with a family member who struggles with mental health issues?
The state won't step in. First off, there's no beds. Most holds are just like a 3-day hold, 72-hour hold. If you do get committed for any length of time, it's usually no more than a couple of weeks. And you're let back out, and most of these people probably won't take their meds, so then they go back, and, it's just the cycle repeating itself. I think they say all this stuff like, oh yeah, you could be, these 3 criteria can be met and you can be, taken in or whatever. There's no beds. There are no beds.
And I think that's something we've got to deal with. Sorry, Bill.
Are we willing to deal with that, though? And that's kind of where I was going with both Jeff and Gina, is the idea of, are we willing to spend the money to set up the infrastructure that we would need nationally in order to take care of this problem? And the question I have is, especially for those of you that are more on the conservative aisle of things, before we start writing the checks, where's the money coming from? And don't tell me it's fraud, waste, and abuse. What I'm curious about is, are y'all willing to raise taxes for it? Are you willing to find sources of revenue? Because we've heard it before about we're going to find fraud, waste, and abuse. And get this, Mayor Mike Johnston talked about that efficiencies of government in order to pay for homelessness.
Yeah,
we saw how that worked out. Are you willing to write the checks?
I think it's important to recognize that the cost of not writing the check at this point is loss of economic opportunity. It's destroying our cities. It's costing us jobs, and it's harming the overall well-being of our community. So we might need to write a check to address this. Gina, I'll give you the final word. We got to get to a break. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I would totally be in favor of writing a check. I just feel like there's a lot of other there is waste and abuse and fraud in other areas of what the government's spending their money on that we could use, to help start with building this infrastructure.
I'm not sure running a homeless shelter entitles you to being paid $500,000 a year like they do in Los Angeles, but we could start there. All right, Gina,
thanks,
appreciate the call so much. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
phone lines, Paige, Denver. Good morning, Paige. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill. I have 4 points that I'd like to point out. One thing with the homeless, does homelessness or the threat of homelessness, does that induce mental illness? That's one point. Secondly, the increase in the homeless is going to continue as the baby boomers age because we can't keep up with inflation.
Ooh, hey, Paige,
That is
pause.
a
Let's have you
really
pause
good
right there.
point.
We're going to bring you back for the other 2 points here in just a second.
I think Paige is exactly right. I think we're about to see a big boom in Gen X and Boomer homelessness. And we'll talk about that more. Stick around, Paige. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.